cooperation with international, regional, and sub-regional organizations, as well as transparency and outreach. In 2025, the committee participated in 26 outreach events on the implementation of the Resolution 1540 at national, sub-regional, regional, and international levels. In accordance with paragraph 26 of Resolution 2663, the committee convened its second open briefing for member states and international, regional, and sub-regional organizations in October 2025. In total, 42 member states and 9 international, regional, and sub-regional organizations made statements during the briefing. The committee continued to undertake initiatives to strengthen the capacity of national points of contact for Resolution 1540, including through regional training and programs. The committee co-hosted, in cooperation with Panama, with the Office of Disarmament Affairs, a training course for points of contact in the Latin American and Caribbean region in Panama City in December last year. The committee approved its first voluntary technical reference guide in accordance with paragraph 13 of Resolution 2663 and made it available on the committee's website. This guide relates to paragraph 3D of Resolution 1540 regarding the obligations to establish, develop, review, and maintain appropriate, effective national export controls. The committee also developed a multi-year program of outreach to states as requested by the Security Council in paragraph 24 of the resolution and made it available on the committee's website. In accordance with paragraph 17 of the resolution, the committee continued to periodically review, as appropriate, the role, efficiency, and effectiveness of the committee's mechanism for matching offers and requests for assistance, including by sending correspondence to 11 member states that had made a matchmaking assistance request prior to January 2022. The aim of this correspondence was to ensure that the committee is aware of any possible further assistance requirements related to fully matching these requests. In 2025, 23 member states provided updates on their national points of contact. This year, until now, 6 additional states provided updates, and 1 member state nominated its point of contact for the first time, bringing the total number of member states with 1540 points of contact to 157. In accordance with paragraph 3 of Resolution 2663, the committee will conduct a comprehensive review on the status of implementation of Resolution 1540 by December 2027. The committee therefore started the discussion on the 2027 comprehensive review process. In this context, during December 2025, the committee adopted a modalities paper that will serve as a guide for the 2027 comprehensive review process. The agreed modalities paper has been published on the committee's website. Preparations for the 2027 comprehensive review include, among others, the updating of the 1540 committee matrices, which reflect national implementation information on measures adopted by each UN member state in fulfillment of their obligations. While work on updating the 1540 committee matrices has already commenced, the committee sent correspondence to member states, encouraging them to submit reports and updated information on national implementation before the end of May 2026. In the context of the comprehensive review process, I would also like to draw the Council's attention to the work of the 1540 group of experts. The group is now operating with only 6 experts, with 3 vacancies remaining under consideration by the 1540 committee. In order to ensure that the committee support structure is fully resourced, especially in the view of the ongoing 2027 comprehensive review, the committee underlines the importance of filling the vacancies in its group of experts. Looking forward, the committee will continue its work under the adopted 22nd program of work of the committee, covering the period from February 1st, 2026 to January 31st, 2027. This includes a comprehensive list of the committee's planned activities to support full implementation of the requirements of Resolution 1540 by all member states. In closing, I wish to express my appreciation to the committee members for their efforts in support of the committee's work, and to the group of experts, officials in UN ODA and DPPA for their invaluable support to the committee. Thank you. I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statements. I give the floor to the representative of Panama.
Gracias, Presidente.
Thank you, Madam President. We are grateful for the convening of this briefing of the 1540 Committee. It allows us to ensure that this resolution remains both relevant and visible. The resolution is one of the vital components of the multilateral non-proliferation system. We reiterate that compliance with the 1540 mandate is vital in order to preserve collective security and in order to avoid non-state actors from accessing weapons of mass destruction. As such, Panama remains staunchly committed to the full implementation of Resolution 1540, both in its national capacity, as we were during our chairmanship of the committee in 2025. Moreover, we wish to convey our hearty thanks to the Department of Political and Peacebuilding Affairs and to the Office of Disarmament Affairs. We also thank the group of experts. We thank them all for their commitment and the administrative and technical support provided. That support allowed us to reach important milestones during our 2025 chairmanship. At the same time, we are compelled to indicate that in spite of these achievements, we believe it to be a source of great regret that the committee was not able to fully begin its work until May of 2025. That gave rise to major challenges in terms of sticking to the timeline we had agreed upon. Moreover, we note that we are now in the third month of 2026 and continue to await the confirmation of subsidiary bodies. In spite of the challenges produced by the state of gridlock within subsidiary bodies, Panama remains fully, unwaveringly committed to the stability, continuity, and total resumption of the committee's work. President, allow me now to discuss where things currently stand with the committee. 2026 is a strategic year. You indicated just that in your report. This year must stand as a platform to allow us to prepare fully for the comprehensive review of 2027. That review will be decisive in terms of establishing the committee's roadmap to run till 2032, and it will be a vital platform to allow us to assess rigorously progress and shortcomings in the resolution's implementation. To fully perform that work, the committee must absolutely have a complete group of experts, which is also fully operational, is stable, and which enjoys adequate resources. It is only with such a group of experts that we can guarantee that the information submitted by member states be analysed with the technical rigour and scrutiny required. In a global environment marked by rapid technological progress, the proliferation of dual-use capacities, and the growing transfer of intangible transfer of knowledge, the international community cannot afford to let up. The effectiveness of Resolution 1540 depends directly on the committee functioning at an expeditious pace, predictably, and with sufficient technical capacity. In this same vein, Panama wishes to underscore the importance of ensuring that the committee continues to function stably and at an even pace. It must have a program of work which is implemented smoothly and with ongoing dialogue with member states. We commend the fact that in February 2026 we adopted such a program of work by consensus. We thank all committee members for their cooperation in that regard. Panama has advocated for practical cooperation as the lodestar of the committee's work. We've had such cooperation, particularly with Latin America and the Caribbean. There, significant progress has been made, but challenges remain, persistent challenges which require continuity and technical support. That emerged during the regional focal point course that was held in 2025, December. That course made it patently clear that the region is increasingly interested in and committed to the implementation of the resolution. To conclude, Madam President, we reiterate that Panama is ready and willing to continue actively and responsibly contributing to the work of the committee. Resolution 1540 is a vital tool to buttress international peace and security, and it deserves the institutional and political support which will allow it to be fully effective. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Panama for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Bahrain.
السيد الرئيس.
Madam President, at the outset, I would like to express our gratitude for all of the efforts undertaken by the 1540 Committee, as well as the group of experts, especially as regards the support provided to the implementation of this resolution related to non-proliferation. I also wish to express our appreciation to the U.S. Presidency of the Security Council. Thank you for convening this important meeting, which is an ideal opportunity for us to exchange views on how we can implement this resolution, a resolution which is a key pillar of the international disarmament regime. Madam President, this meeting comes at a very sensitive time as our region is seeing a dangerous escalation, in particular owing to Iranian aggression, unfair aggression that's been ongoing since the 26th of February of this year, targeting the GCC countries, including my country, Bahrain, and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The international community has condemned these attacks through Resolution 2817, adopted by the Security Council very recently, a resolution which condemns these attacks, targeting critical and civilian infrastructure, which constitutes a direct threat to regional and international peace and security. Madam President, the Kingdom of Bahrain, within the framework of our membership of the Security Council, is undertaking efforts to enhance our collective security regime, all the while defending the security of our citizens, defending our sovereignty, especially in the face of an unjustified, unfair aggression. The Kingdom of Bahrain remains committed to its firm approach underpinned by wisdom, restraint, and we are committed to continuing our work hand in hand with the international community so as to bolster our neighborhood policies in full respect for the sovereignty of states and while participating in contributing to prosperity and development in the region and beyond. Madam President, the situation we're facing today reflects aggressive policies pursued by Iran. They constitute an open challenge to the efforts of the international community, which aim to achieve non-proliferation and collective security. On this note, the use of drones reflects, Madam President, the use of drones reflects a very dangerous aspect of these activities undertaken by Iran. Madam President, the Kingdom of Bahrain would like to insist on the importance of Security Council Resolution 1540, which seeks to combat the acquisition of WMDs by non-state actors and their vectors. We welcome the positive momentum that's been generated by the committee and await with great interest the 5-year comprehensive review, the quinquennial review, to be held in 2027, which will serve as an opportunity to reinforce the implementation of this resolution. We'd also like to emphasize the importance of creating a nuclear weapons-free zone in the Middle East. This is a key component that will help us to achieve regional and international security. By way of conclusion, we would like to commit ourselves to ongoing work with members of the committee and all international partners so as to implement Resolution 1540 and to render real and to strengthen our international disarmament regime with a view to achieving our common objective, a world free from WMDs in all of their forms. I thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of Bahrain for the statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Madame la Présidente de la République.
Madam President, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the DRC, would like to thank you for your exhaustive briefing on the progress made by the Security Council committee established pursuant to Resolution 1540. We join our voice to the overall conclusion. The rise in extreme violence perpetrated by terrorists all over the world proves that no one will be spared from the threat of the use of WMDs by non-state actors. From this vantage point, my delegation would like to highlight that the unanimous adoption on the 30th of November 2022 of Resolution 2663 extending the 1540 committee mandate for a 10-year period is an important achievement, as it allows for the committee to comprehensively review the implementation of Resolution 1540, factoring in public consultations, which will be held next year, and once again before the next mandate renewal in 2032. In particular, we'd like to commend the headway made by the committee as regards awareness raising, support provided to member states so as to ensure national implementation of Resolution 1540, as well as the strengthening of cooperation with international, regional, and sub-regional organizations. On the 20th of April 2004, the Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 1540 under the auspices of Article 7 of the UN Charter, reaffirming that nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, as well as the vectors thereof, pose a threat to international peace and security. This resolution compelled member states to abstain from supporting non-state actors, developing, acquiring, producing, possessing, transferring, transporting, or using such arms or their vectors. Today, 22 years have gone by, and the international context is increasingly complicated. We're confronted with myriad challenges. The DRC would therefore like to reiterate the relevance of this resolution, Resolution 1540, and the 1540 Committee. We'd like to underscore the crucial role it plays as a fundamental pillar of the global non-proliferation architecture. It was established to oversee and to support our prevention efforts and efforts to counter the scourge. This is why we've taken good note and with great interest of the efforts undertaken by the committee to bolster the national focal point system, as well as the drafting of the voluntary technical guide on export controls. The aforementioned initiatives are useful tools which can help states as they implement their obligations. My delegation would also like to highlight the importance of international cooperation, as well as of technical cooperation, which will allow all states, in particular developing countries, to bolster their legislative frameworks and institutional frameworks as well, as regards non-proliferation, that is. As we look ahead to the 2027 comprehensive review, the DRC invites the committee to continue assisting member states in implementing the resolution so that they can continue to update their national information and ensure we have an inclusive and effective process. To maximize and leverage these efforts, we wish for reminder letters to be sent so that states can submit their annual reports. Last but not least, the DRC would like to support efforts aimed at filling the vacant posts on the committee's group of experts to ensure that the group has the necessary resources available to fulfill its mandate. Before I conclude, Madam President, if I may, I'd like to refer to my statement delivered on the 12th of March 2026 in this chamber regarding the delay in distributing the chairs of the Security Council's subsidiary bodies. I'd like to recall once again that this obligation falls to our Council, an obligation to overcome our differences and to ensure that our essential activities, the activities of the subsidiary organs, can committee. By way of conclusion, the DRC remains fully committed to ongoing collaboration in a constructive spirit, working together with the committee and all member states so as to promote the universal implementation, the effective implementation of Resolution 1540, a vital and essential resolution for our collective security. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Democratic Republic of the Congo for the statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of France.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam President, I wish to thank the Presidency for having presented the report on the activities of the 1540 Committee over recent months. I also wish to thank Panama for the work conducted as chair of the committee during 2025. The Resolution 1540 is a vital pillar of the international non-proliferation regime. Its effective implementation is, as such, in the collective interest of the international community. At a time when the non-proliferation is placed on its mettle, it is vital to reaffirm our commitment to the norms and instruments which underpin that edifice. That includes Resolution 1540 and the resolutions of this Council pertaining to the Iranian and DPRK proliferation crises, or for the NPT, whose Renew conference will meet here in a few weeks in New York. Among the threats to international peace and security, the potential acquisition of weapons of mass destruction or their means of delivery by non-state actors is one of the most grave. We've seen just that in Syria, a country whose people has weathered chemical attacks perpetrated by Daesh, as has been established by reports issued by the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. In that country, the effective implementation of chemical programs inherited from the Assad era is thus necessary and urgent to prevent all risks of proliferation and of the resurgence of chemical terrorism. In this connection, we hail the cooperation between the Syrian authorities and the OPCW. These efforts must continue, and thanks to the mobilization and support of the international community, ultimately allow progress towards the destruction of the remains of the Syrian chemical program. We underscore the unwavering and decisive commitment of the countries in the G7 global partnership against the spread of weapons and materials of mass destruction. We chair that partnership this year, and we're promoting the Resolution 1540 and the implementation of it through that effort. This mobilization is taking the form of financial commitments that will benefit 10 countries. By way of example, we have financed to the tune of several millions of euros a UNODC program aiming to strengthen export controls. We're doing that with the Australia Group in Central Asia, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Here, I wish to recall the decisive role of expert control mechanisms in the implementation of 1540 and the importance of ensuring compliance by member states with their obligations pursuant to that resolution. France fully supports the work done by the 1540 Committee to support the implementation of the resolution. We welcome the fact that the committee has agreed upon an annual program of work. It sets forth a clear roadmap for its activities in the coming months. It is important to continue to raise member states' awareness of their obligations pursuant to Resolution 1540. It's also important to support them as they seek to discharge their obligations, including through assistance. The development of the multi-year plan in this regard for awareness raising activities is positive and vital. The 5-year review, which is set to be completed by 2027, will be hugely useful to take stock of achievements with the implementation of this resolution. We're ready to contribute to that comprehensive review actively. In order to ensure the successful conclusion of that comprehensive review, the 1540 committee must have the means necessary to smoothly operate. The chair of this committee and the chairs of all other subsidiary bodies of the Council in this regard must be appointed forthwith. I wish to underscore the fact, as the President has just done, that all the vacant posts in the group of experts must be filled without delay. The effectiveness of the group of experts depends on it. Thank you.
I thank the representative of France for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of China.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for your briefing. Over the past year, the committee has carried out a great deal of productive work in promoting the implementation of Security Council Resolution 1540. China commends Ambassador Alfaro de Alba and his team for their efforts and expresses appreciation to the group of experts and the Secretariat for their contributions. For more than 2 decades, Resolution 1540 has played an irreplaceable role in consolidating international consensus on non-proliferation, promoting international cooperation in this field, and preventing non-state actors from acquiring weapons of mass destruction. The committee will conduct a new round of comprehensive review in 2027. At the same time, the international security situation has evolved profoundly with frequent localized conflicts and turmoil. The threat of terrorism remains severe, and the risks and challenges of the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and the means of delivery still persist. President, the Chinese President Xi Jinping has put forward a global security initiative and a global governance initiative, advocating a vision of common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security, and practicing and upholding the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits in global governance. These are of great guiding significance in promoting governance in the field of non-proliferation. In the light of the above, I wish to make the following points on the work of the committee. First, non-proliferation is a global challenge. Addressing this challenge requires genuine multilateralism, fostering a universally secure international and regional environment, due consideration of the legitimate security concerns of all countries, and realization of common security so as to eliminate the root causes of proliferation. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, the Biological Weapons Convention, and the Chemical Weapons Convention, together with United Nations Security Council Resolution 1540, constitute the international legal framework for non-proliferation. All parties should ensure the effective compliance with and the implementation of these legal instruments so as to safeguard the authority and effectiveness of this regime. Second, member states are the main parties responsible for the implementation of Resolution 1540. All countries should continue strengthening their national capabilities and addressing gaps in legislation, institutional mechanism, and professional expertise related to non-proliferation. The committee should, on the basis of respect for the wishes of the member states and taking fully into account the national conditions and practical needs of the countries concerned, facilitate the matching of assistance and support targeted international cooperation. In recent years, member states, including China and Panama, have organized multiple regional training courses under the committee's framework, providing useful platforms for sharing experiences and enhancing cooperation. Third, emerging technologies such as AI, 3D printing, gene editing, and synthetic biology bring unprecedented opportunities for human development, but also pose prominent security risks and challenges. All countries should strengthen governance and oversight of emerging technologies to prevent non-state actors from abusing these technologies for proliferation activities. At the same time, the UN should play its role as the main channel to promote the development of the global governance framework and standards for emerging fields that enjoyed broad consensus. Fourth, achieving non-proliferation objectives should not come at expenses of scientific and technological progress. It is important to balance development and security, effectively safeguard the legitimate rights of developing countries to the peaceful use of science technology, and oppose the abuse of export controls and unilateral sanctions under the pretext of national security or non-proliferation. The General Assembly has adopted on multiple occasions the draft resolution entitled Promoting International Cooperation on Peaceful Uses in the Context of International Security, submitted by China and like-minded countries. China welcomed these and calls on more member states to support this resolution, and welcomed continued inclusive dialogue among all parties to promote its effective implementation so as to build a just, reasonable, and non-discriminatory non-proliferation order. President, China stands ready to continue to work with all parties, participates constructively in the work of the committee, and contribute to the effective implementation of Resolution 1540, strengthening of a global non-proliferation governance and safeguarding international and regional peace and security. Thank you, President.
I thank the representative of China for the statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Colombia.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Madam President, for presenting the report. Colombia values the efforts taken by the committee to continue promoting the full and effective implementation of Resolution 1540. Moreover, my delegation applauds the fact that the committee now has a substantive program of work for 2026 to 2027. That program of work reflects a level of ambition which is commensurate with the broad nature of its mandate, particularly in terms of assistance, outreach, and preparation for the 2027 Comprehensive Review. We value the fact that the implementation of Resolution 1540 continues to be guided by the principles of transparency, equitable treatment, cooperation, and consistency. This will benefit the effective and universal implementation of the resolution. At the same time, we recognize that the resolution's implementation is coming up against practical limitations. These include the absence of a chair of the committee and the remaining vacancies among the group of experts. For my country, guaranteeing the operational continuity and the proper functioning of the committee is of the utmost importance. We trust that the situations outlined above will be resolved forthwith. Madam President, as things stand, we are witnessing the vertiginous speed at which new technologies are being developed, including those with dual-use applications. In turn, we are forced to contend with non-state actors' ability to adapt their methods to this reality, as well as their ability to take advantage of regulatory vacuums and to exploit legitimate supply chains to pursue unlawful ends. In a context marked by these characteristics, the committee's assistance mechanisms are of crucial importance. In many states, in particularly in developing countries, the effective implementation of Resolution 1540 does not depend solely on timely access to technical assistance to strengthen national capacity. It also depends on international cooperation being facilitated, such as to make it possible for these countries to acquire specialized equipment and technical support to strengthen national regulatory frameworks, expert controls, and to step up the security of sensitive material. Madam President, we take note of the beginning of preparations for the 2027 Comprehensive Review. That review will provide us with an opportunity to take stock of progress made with the implementation of 1540, as well as to identify any shortcomings. Against that backdrop, it is important particularly important indeed to guarantee that the group of experts has the human resources necessary to fully support the committee's work. Moreover, I wish to underscore the importance of placing the committee's efforts within the broader framework of the international disarmament and non-proliferation regime. Resolution 1540 is a pillar which can complement other instruments. These include the Convention on Chemical Weapons, the Convention on Biological Weapons, and the Non-Proliferation Treaty. That treaty will soon be submitted to another review. For my delegation, it is vital to strengthen synergies between the committee and these other instruments. This in order to guarantee consistency and effectiveness in terms of tackling modern proliferation challenges. To conclude, allow me to underscore Colombia's staunch commitment to the full implementation of Resolution 1540. We are similarly committed to strengthening multilateralism and international cooperation to prevent the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Colombia for the statement, and I give the floor to the representative of Somalia.
Thank you, Madam President. At the outset, my delegation thanks the Presidency, acting in the absence of a chair of the Security Council Committee established pursuant to Resolution 1540, for convening today's meeting and for the update on the committee's work. We note the progress achieved in the committee's work since the previous year, as reflected in the adoption of the 22nd Program of Work covering the period through January 2027. As we continue to reflect on the critical role of Resolution 1540, it remains a pivotal component of the global non-proliferation framework. We acknowledge the committee's dedicated work in promoting implementation and welcome the approval of the first voluntary technical reference guide concerning national export controls, which provides essential clarity for meeting obligations under paragraph 3 of the resolution. Madam President, Somalia recognizes the primary responsibility of the non-proliferation rests with the national government. However, we are mindful that obstacles developing countries face, such as limited resources and technical know-how. In this regard, we believe that developing capacity of all member states must be a shared priority. We welcome the committee's ongoing efforts to match offers of assistance with the specific requirement of member states to ensure no nation is left behind. We also note the committee's robust outreach efforts and its focus on fostering capacity building, as evidenced by the event co-hosted with Panama in December for points of contact in Latin America and the Caribbean. In conclusion, Madam President, Somalia reaffirms its commitment to the non-proliferation regime. Somalia will continue to work alongside regional and international partners to prevent the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and foster a safer, more secure world for all. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Somalia for the statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Greece.
I thank you, Madam President, for briefing the Council in your capacity as the acting chair of the 1540 Committee. Greece remains fully committed to supporting the effective and universal implementation of Resolution 1540, which aims to preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery to non-state actors, including for terrorist purposes. I will make 3 remarks. First, we commend the significant progress achieved in 2025 under the chairmanship of the permanent representative of Panama, Ambassador Eloy Alfaro de Alba, and his team. Second, in its capacity as vice chair, Greece actively participated in the committee's activities, including through co-chairing the second annual open briefing in October 2025, as well as with the organization and support of the UNODA of a workshop on maritime border security enforcement in November 2025. Third, important challenges for the committee lay ahead, recalling the need for the urgent appointment of chairs of the Security Council subsidiary organs, including the chair of the 1540 Committee. In particular, in the coming period, the committee will be called to continue the preparation of the 2027 comprehensive review on the status of implementation of Resolution 1540. Moreover, it is important for the committee to ensure that the group of experts works efficiently and on a continuous basis, including through the filling of the filling of the vacancies within the group without further delay. Regrettably, this has become a long overdue issue. Finally, my country believes that the committee should further enhance its cooperation with international, regional, and sub-regional organizations and other UN bodies in the context of the resolution, particularly with the European Union. In conclusion, Greece commends the committee's support structure, including the group of experts UNODA and DPPA, for their invaluable support to the committee, and thanks Panama for its leadership. We stand ready to continue supporting the important work. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Greece for this statement. I give the floor to the representative of Latvia.
Thank you, Madam President. We welcome the briefing delivered by the Presidency on the recent activities of the committee since the last briefing in August. The non-proliferation architecture has long been a cornerstone of international peace and security, and the role of the 1540 Committee has been key in this regard, ensuring that the most dangerous weapons do not end up in the hands of terrorists and other malign actors. It also provides relevant outreach and technical assistance to member states and other partners. The risks of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction have become increasingly diffuse as dual-use technologies, synthetic biology, and cyber sabotage, among others, have lowered the threshold for access and weaponization. Unfortunately, in recent years, we have also faced persistent and systematic efforts to weaken and undermine international non-proliferation norms from belligerent state actors. A prime example of this is the Iranian regime's opaque pursuit of uranium enrichment to such a degree that defies any possible peaceful purpose, along with a stock of ballistic missiles and cooperation with exactly this sort of terrorist groups that this resolution is meant against. The illegal nuclear program of the DPRK is another example, and so is the continued irresponsible, dangerous, and reckless nuclear rhetoric and part of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, combined with unacceptable use of chemical weapons. Madam President, in an environment as tense and complex as this, the constructive work of the committee remains crucial. Its non-proliferation efforts resonate on a global scale, and we're therefore very pleased to welcome the recent adoption of the program of work for this year. However, this further illustrates the urgent need for all subsidiary bodies of this Council to resume their full operation in order to effectively implement their tasks. We also commend the pertinent role played by the panel of experts of the committee and strongly urge the committee to appoint qualified experts to the outstanding vacancies. A fully staffed and capable panel is of the utmost importance as we begin work towards a comprehensive review on the status of implementation of the Resolution 1540. And we remind that any efforts to delay, disrupt, or otherwise hinder the work of the committee, especially for political reasons, are worrisome and undermine the trust in the work of this Council. And we call on all parties to contribute constructively to the work of the committee. Madam President, all the subsidiary bodies of the Council play their unique and much-needed role in the global security architecture. And considering the subject matter and scope of the work undertaken by the 1540 Committee, we must support its work as if it were life or death matter, because it quite literally is. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Latvia for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me also thank the United States for the briefing as acting chair of the 1540 Committee while work continues on the subsidiary body package. We hope a solution can be found as soon as possible. We also express our appreciation to Panama for the leadership of the committee in 2025. Madam President, Resolution 1540 remains a cornerstone of the international non-proliferation architecture. Denmark reaffirms our strong commitment to its full and effective implementation and to preventing non-state actors, including terrorist groups, from acquiring nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons and their means of delivery. The global non-proliferation landscape remains under significant pressure. Ongoing conflicts and persistent proliferation concerns underline the continued relevance of Resolution 1540. Developments related to DPRK's nuclear and missile programs, Iran's deeply concerning nuclear aspirations, and the serious nuclear safety risks associated with Russia's illegal aggression against Ukraine remind us why strong national controls and international cooperation remains essential. In this regard, we urge all member states to continue strengthening regulatory controls and to adopt and effectively enforce the necessary national legislation and measures required under Resolution 1540. We also call upon the remaining member states that have not yet done so to submit their first national reports on implementation. These reports are essential for assessing progress, identifying gaps, and facilitating assistance. The committee plays a vital role in supporting member states in these efforts. To this end, cooperation and coordination with relevant international organizations and export control regimes remain essential. This includes facilitating the participation of the group of experts in relevant events that can further strengthen partnerships and help promote awareness of Resolution 1540. Madam President, looking ahead, the comprehensive review of the implementation of Resolution 1540, scheduled to be completed by December 2027, will be a milestone for the committee. Preparation for this review should therefore remain a top priority. We commend the group of experts for the dedication and highly professional work in support of the committee. We encourage them to continue playing a proactive role in assisting member states. It's therefore important that the group of experts be fully staffed. We hope that the remaining vacant positions will be filled as soon as possible, particularly in view of the upcoming comprehensive review. Finally, we would like to express our appreciation for the work carried out by UNODA and DPPA in supporting the committee. I thank you.
I thank the representative from Denmark for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Madam President, and for presenting today's report. Let me begin by thanking Panama for its stewardship of the 1540 Committee in 2025, including through the creation of the first voluntary technical reference guide on national export controls. I will make 4 points. First, Resolution 1540 remains as important to international security today as when it was negotiated over 20 years ago. It remains the only universal, legally binding instrument that obliges all states to prevent non-state actors, including terrorist groups and criminal networks, from acquiring nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons and their means of delivery. The rapid diffusion of new and advanced technologies across the globe has made this threat more acute, not less. Full implementation of the resolution therefore remains a long-term task, and the United Kingdom calls on all states to implement their obligations under this resolution in full. Second, the United Kingdom welcomes the constructive consensus that made it possible to agree this year's programme of work, which, as we have regrettably seen in recent years, cannot be taken for granted. We encourage this consensus to further strengthen core national measures essential for the resolution's implementation, such as export and transshipment controls, enforcement provisions, control lists for sensitive dual-use items, and sustained assistance to states. Third, the United Kingdom agrees with the 1540 Committee's report on the importance of an active and fully staffed group of experts. Outreach is critical for the group of experts to execute its functions, including by providing insight and technical support to member states in their implementation of Resolution 1540. We remain concerned that unwarranted objections have continued to prevent the group of experts from attending outreach events focused on thematic and regional implementation issues. Any action that might hinder the committee's vital work should be reversed immediately. Fourth, the United Kingdom remains committed to assisting states in improving their national implementation. We will continue to offer our legal and regulatory expertise on 1540 related matters, and we will continue to contribute to wider security efforts that indirectly bolster 1540 implementation, such as the UK's ongoing financial and programmatic support to UNODA's Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention work, including universalisation outreach. Madam President, as we look ahead to the comprehensive review in 2027, we encourage all Council members to participate fully in preparations. With threats evolving rapidly, the review is our opportunity to develop clear recommendations to strengthen the resolution and ensure support is directed to the states that need it most. In that regard, the United Kingdom reaffirms the importance of ensuring that all Security Council subsidiary bodies, including the 1540 Committee, are swiftly allocated chairs. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
I thank you, Madam President, for the presentation of 1540 Committee's report in the absence of the committee chair. It again serves to underscore the urgency of appointing the chairs of subsidiary bodies without further delay. Important substantive work of the committees is suffering because of the inordinate delay. We take note of the report and are pleased at the progress made within the committee in the last few months. In this respect, we particularly acknowledge Ambassador Eloy Alfaro de Alba, the permanent representative of Panama, in advancing the committee's substantive work last year. President, in the current complex global environment characterized by several conflicts, simmering tensions, and security challenges, the promotion of non-proliferation efforts is more crucial than ever. Resolution 1540 plays a pivotal role in the global framework to prevent the proliferation of WMDs to non-state actors. The potential for non-state actors to acquire and use WMDs threatens national security of member states and gravely undermines international peace and security. The changing nature of non-state actors and terrorist activities underscores the importance of strengthening voluntary international cooperation and collaborative efforts to achieve the common goal of effectively implementing the Resolution 1540. Furthermore, as science, technology, and global trade continues to evolve, member states must stay abreast of these developments to effectively implement the resolution. The 1540 Committee can play an important role in promoting international understanding of these threats and our collective response. President, multilateral export control regimes can play a crucial role in strengthening global non-proliferation efforts. To maintain credibility, these regimes must avoid becoming exclusive syndicates, prioritizing political and commercial interests. Selective exceptions diminish the credibility of the global non-proliferation framework and risk further destabilizing regional and global peace and security. Effective non-proliferation requires a non-discriminatory, objective, and criteria-based approach. Such an approach is critical to maintain strategic stability at the regional and global level and avoid arms race. Moreover, non-proliferation efforts, important in their own right, must not impede international cooperation in the peaceful uses of dual-use technologies, which is vital for the economic development of all member states, particularly the Global South. All countries must be able to exercise their inalienable right to utilize nuclear energy and technologies for peaceful purposes, consistent with their respective non-proliferation and international legal obligations. Further work in this respect, including within the 1540 Committee, would be important to ensure equitable and unimpeded access to technologies while promoting the goals of global non-proliferation. Non-proliferation and peaceful technological development reinforce, not undermine, each other when approached through cooperative mechanisms on a non-discriminatory basis. President, Pakistan will continue its active contribution to the work of the 1540 Committee, including in the ongoing comprehensive review, which is a vital exercise in the implementation of the resolution. We also appreciate the dedication of the group of experts to advance the committee's work. We reiterate the view that the members of the group should be selected based on criteria of merit, expertise, and geographical rotation, and hope that pending vacancies would be filled while keeping in view above considerations. Pakistan would continue to promote and support global non-proliferation and the objectives of the 1540 resolution. I thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Madam President, we're grateful to you for your briefing about the work of the 1540 Committee covering the period between August of 2025 to this day. UN Security Council Resolution 1540 remains relevant as a universal international instrument which seeks to preventing WMDs, related materials, and the means of their delivery falling into the hands of non-state actors. The importance of this document, the resolution, for promoting depoliticized cooperation between states so as to help achieve the aforementioned goal cannot be overstated. The Russian Federation has been unswervingly committed to the implementation of Resolution 1540. Russia was one of the countries initiating the adoption thereof. We directly participated in preparing the text. Against this backdrop, we attach great importance to the work of the 1540 Committee and to the joint efforts of the Security Council geared towards ensuring the effective functioning of said committee. From this vantage point, we welcome the consensus-based agreement on the program of work of the committee out to January 2027. We thank our UK colleagues for leading the informal work on preparing this. We're expecting that, despite the unresolved issue of seat allocation in Security Council subsidiary bodies, that the committee will manage to carry out all of the tasks assigned to it in a timely fashion. The imperative has been and remains strict compliance by the 1540 Committee with its mandate, which has clear-cut contours. The key components thereof are the monitoring of the implementation of Resolution 1540 and the coordination of international efforts so as to provide technical cooperation to states requesting it. In their work on this front, committee members should be guided exclusively by the goals of non-proliferation of WMDs. Assigning non-core functions to the committee, including the function of oversight, is something that's unacceptable. What's equally unacceptable is injecting topics into the committee's work, topics which stray beyond Resolution 1540 topics, for instance, the fight against terrorism, sanctions issues, and the development of new technologies. We shouldn't forget that the committee's group of experts answers solely to this body. It cannot act autonomously. We're grateful to group of experts members for their professional assistance provided to the committee and for effectively implementing the committee's instructions, especially given that it is not fully staffed. The Russian Federation is counting on the filling of remaining group of experts vacancies as soon as possible. This is of principled importance given the workload that will fall on the experts as they prepare for the comprehensive review of 1540 resolution implementation, which is scheduled for 2027. Given that the current U.S. presidency of the Security Council, given that the U.S. currently holds the presidency, we are counting on the U.S. undertaking efforts to ensure that this key unresolved issue is resolved. Madam President, the Russian Federation aims to continue constructively collaborating with all Security Council members as well as other states so as to ensure the 1540 Committee successfully carries out its work. We believe that it is this approach that will pave the way for the committee effectively implementing the tasks before it as well as garnering consensus on the most tricky issues. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Liberia.
Thank you. Liberia thanks the United States for convening this briefing and for presenting the update on the work of the committee established pursuant to Resolution 1540. We also thank Panama for their leadership. A non-nuclear weapons state party to the treaty, Liberia reaffirms its commitment to strengthening the global non-proliferation regime and takes note of the 22nd program of work of the committee covering the period through 31st January 2027. We pledge our support toward the effective implementation of the activities underlined therein. We note with encouragement the progress made by member states in fulfilling their reporting requirement under Resolution 1540. We commend these states for demonstrating transparency and commitment to strengthening the global non-proliferation regime. And in that regard, we are pleased to also report that Liberia is strengthening its safety frameworks. We have agreed a 2026-2030 country program framework with the IAEA prioritizing radiation safety, health, and border port capacities. Therefore, Liberia welcomes 1540 assistance, matchmaking for one, detection upgrades at our Roberts International Airport and the free port of Monrovia, and two, a national end-of-life pathway for disused medical sources. In conclusion, Madam President, allow me to emphasize what we already know, which is that the consequences of the use of weapons of mass destruction anywhere, especially the use of nuclear weapons, will be catastrophic everywhere. Likewise, the use of chemical or biological agents could cause widespread suffering and destabilize societies across the globe. Therefore, preventing such outcomes must remain a priority of this Council. This is why we join others to call for the full composition of this and all other subsidiary bodies of this Council. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Liberia for the statement. I shall now make a statement in my capacity as the representative of the United States. The United States is pleased to note positive developments within the committee over the last year. In 2025, the committee supported implementation of Security Council Resolution 1540 through 25 events across 5 continents. The committee's group of experts participated in regional and national workshops focused on export controls, biosecurity, nuclear security, and chemical weapons convention implementation, reaching countries in Africa, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and Europe. We urge all committee members to support such outreach, as this Council agreed to in Resolution 2663. Key accomplishments also included supporting the development of national action plans in Costa Rica, Nigeria, and Panama, facilitating peer-to-peer assistance between Botswana and South Africa, and conducting the committee's annual open briefing for member states and international organizations here in October. To prevent WMD proliferation and strengthen export controls worldwide, the committee also collaborated extensively with the IAEA, OAS, OPCW, and OSCE. The committee's efforts are instrumental in assuring that Security Council Resolution 1540 remains the foundation of global efforts to prevent the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery, and to non-state actors, including terrorist groups. This comes at a pivotal moment for all of us, as terrorist groups such as the Houthis attempt to acquire these weapons and their delivery systems through illicit trade practices that threaten all of our security and global commerce. In closing, we urge all member states to undertake comprehensive steps towards national implementation of Resolution 1540, including the adoption of effective legislation, regulatory controls, and enforcement mechanisms. The United States stands ready to assist countries in these efforts, and we believe only through coordinated global actions we can effectively prevent the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Together, we can ensure that Resolution 1540 is fully implemented, safeguarding global security and preventing the catastrophic consequences of WMD proliferation. Thank you. I resume my function as President of the Council. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. This meeting is adjourned.
One tree, one person, many connections. This is Abu. This is a tree. This is our resilient planet.
And now it's over to you. Hug someone, plant a seed, share your story, because every act of care today becomes resilience for tomorrow.
Motivisalo me za tu aktivnost jer su mi ubili sina, muža i preko 50 dalje familije. A ovdje je biografija mog muža sa njegovom biografijom.
As they tried to board one of the buses, a Serb soldier approached Sad, put a gun to his head, and took him away.
A ovdje je slika dokaza da je ubijen metkom. Ovaj sat je bio kod njega ovdje. Ovo su neke humanitarne zvali i mrtvare. Platnena, obuća, neka slaba. I u grobnicama je struhla, ovo je ekshumirano, ovo sve. Ali se borim da sutra bude moja Bosna i Hercegovina i svi ljudi koji je vole. I pravoslavni, i katolički, i jevrejski, i romski, i bošnjačko-muslimanski. I nek djeca uče da znaju šta je dobro, šta je zlo. Kako zlo donose ovako prljavi ratovi? Ne treba nam rat. Glasajmo za život, ne za patnju života.